hands, Ollie and Em, as to where you'd like to start. But I suppose I should say, for everyone who's joining us from Australia, welcome to Cognac and to Cognac Jean Fillioux, which is a very revered cognac house here in France. And joining us, we're very lucky today to have Christophe Fillioux, who is really just a wonderful person to have joined the discussion to explain to us about cognac production and Pineau de Charente production, because Cognac Jean Fillioux makes that as well. And so as we launch our Pineau de Charente expression today, fantastic to have someone of Christophe's stature as part of the tasting. So welcome.
Merci.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how you'd like to roll this out, Emma and Ollie, whether you want us to just sort of take the lead in terms of talking about the different samples we have today, and a bit about Cognac Jean Fillioux. I'd really love just to start with letting Christophe talk a bit about Cognac Jean Fillioux, if that's all right.
We've got a few more people just joining, Rod, so maybe give it another minute max, and then Emma will kick us off with some housekeeping, and then I'll hand it over to you guys.
Brilliant.
Alrighty.
I can say
Yeah.
Which one?
So we're starting with the Amber Lane new make.
So tasting order is in the chat, everyone.
So
you might have noticed that there are some significantly not dark looking liquids in your glasses. So we'll be starting with those first.
Have you had new make whiskey before?
Make whiskey? No.
New make? Yeah.
All right. I think we're good to go, Emma. One more person joining, and then we can kick off.
Second one?
Yeah.
Wait.
Amazing. Well, welcome everyone to tonight's virtual tasting of Amber Lane, a distillery we love and work with out of the Central Coast of New South Wales. And Amber Lane co-owner and all-round legend Rod Berry, as he mentioned before, is calling in from France. We have the other brains behind the operation, Phil, is also in the chat tonight as well. But yeah, it's super exciting to have them coming in all the way. And as Rod said before, he's joined by Christophe Fillioux, who is the man behind probably one of the world's most iconic cognac houses. I've known about and loved Jean Fillioux Cognacs for many, many years now. So it's really, really exciting to have him on board. But before we delve into the whiskies and the Pineau and the Cognac and me pronouncing French terribly, we have the all-important housekeeping. Obviously, we recommend having 6 glasses so you can go back and compare, particularly with the Pineau de Charente and the Pineau. That will be a really great kind of wine pairing rather than a beer pairing. This is a wine pairing of the two, so that would be really great if you have the glassware for it. If not, don't worry about it. As usual, please don't drive after the tasting. Responsible drinking is always encouraged. And all of our tastings are recorded as well for those who want to watch them back or who can't join us tonight. They will be up on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and all that stuff the kiddies say. But also a general overview of the Amber Lane brand will be up in the featured brands section of the Whiskey List website. And as always, we'd love to see your tasting notes and questions in the chat. We'll do our best to get answers for all of them if possible. And particularly for this one, I'm curious about your tasting notes, because obviously we've thrown some other spirits that are not whiskey into the mix. So this is a test for your palates, I think. But that's pretty much it from me. So let's kick it off with something we don't get super often in these tastings, and something very exciting, the Amber Lane New Make Spirit. And Rod will tell us a bit about how this came to be, what it is, and how to drink it as well, perhaps, if you want to go through that.
Sure. So new make is the spirit before it goes into barrels, and we've perfected what we think is, the quintessential style for Amber Lane. So we've brought this to you. I think it says on the bottle there only 50%. We supplied it, I think, a little bit stronger than that. Obviously, it comes off the still stronger than that. So it'd be about 66.5% before we barrel fill, and we add a little bit of water to it, bring it down to about 62.5 to fill the barrels. But this is the raw spirit of Amber Lane. It's 3 different barley grains are used to create this lovely concoction, and we use dry distiller's yeast. We actually outsource the process of production of our whiskey wash to brewery 6 String, and they produce a very consistent product for us. It's 6,000 litres per batch, and from that we do 2 low wines runs, 3,000 litres each, and then a single spirit run. And from our 6,000 litres of beer wash, we have about 700 litres of new make, and this is new make. So one of the key things that we're hoping that people can pick up in our new make is the taste of the barley and the aroma of the barley. So very important that this is a grain-based spirit, so we want to taste that grain and enjoy the sense of that barley. But then there are so many other things going on, and perhaps one of the ones that I really enjoy is that Werther's original toffee note, which we deliberately included in the production from one of the barley grains is lightly roasted. That creates this lovely aroma and taste, and it reminds us of that style of whiskey from Scotland. So the sort of Highland Scotch butterscotch note, which I really love, and which I was really keen to be part of the Amber Lane style. But apart from that, there's lots of other things going on. I'd be interested to see what Em you pick up, and also Christophe, what you're picking up in there.
Yeah. Is just a hands up in the chat. Is this anyone's first time trying new make spirit? No, we're all seasoned professionals at this point.
It might be Phil's first time.
Perhaps, but yeah, no, I again, like you, Rod, I'm super curious to see what Christophe thinks, because I imagine, Christophe, you have much more experience with eau de vie and you know, the kind of blanche or blanc?
Blanche. De la blanche.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
Some English miss me a little bit for description.
Yeah, so this is I suppose you could say the blanche of whiskey.
La Blanche, yes. We do Blanche. You have Blanche d'Armagnac. You have also Blanche in Cognac. We are not allowed to sell Blanche in Cognac, but in Armagnac they can do it, and it's very interesting too. Yeah. Because the minimum in Cognac to sell something is 3 years old. So it's not Blanche anymore. But of course we have access to that. When we distill, we have a lot of different kind of Blanche, and it's very interesting. Yeah.
So how does this differ from the aroma of an eau de vie, a brand new, the Blanche of the
that's very fruity. When it's young, it's fruity. Then you have more flowers, and when it's older, you have a spice.
Yeah.
And also with a different age, you can find the same fruit. For example, for young Cognac, fresh fruits. For medium age, you have a jam taste. And for very old Cognac, it's more confit. You understand confit? Concentration of sugar.
Yes.
So it's very funny to see that same fruits, but at different step.
Yeah, so it's always so interesting to see and so interesting to compare. And I mean, you know, we talk about new make spirit, and it's designed with the flavor profile to be put into barrel, and it's so far from what, I mean, vodka drinkers would presume, which is not too dissimilar in terms of it, but there's so much more flavor notes, there's so much more texture in new make spirit. It's one of my favorite things to try and taste. And yeah, Ian's getting the butterscotch and barley and something sort of grainy. Michael's getting stone fruits, grassy, malty, and Howard says it's very crisp and clean. Yeah, I immediately got tinned SPC peaches, and apricots, specifically SPC brand. There's a difference, there always is. But yeah.
I'm impressed to see it's 50% because it's easy to drink for something at 50. So it's because it's well done, definitely. And the nose is very clear to understand and very straight. I like that. Yeah.
Look at that, tick of approval, Rod.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I love it.
We'll have to do this in a couple of years' time and have some of your Blanche, your brand new eau de vie.
Oui.
Yeah.
Mm.
That would be an interesting comparison.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do a tasting where it's all like unaged spirit from like different bases. So obviously you'd have like a Blanc tequila, and then you'd have a new make spirit, and then you'd have a white dog, so that bourbon differentiation, and then you'd have an eau de vie, and I think there's some other stuff as well that I literally can't think of right now. I'm sure, not a white rum, because a lot of white rums are technically rested, but like something more like an Guardiente, I think, or I'm not super familiar with rum, but I think it would be really cool. It would be a very niche one, though. I don't think I think it would make a better training kit than than a virtual tasting. But yeah, fantastic.
What we were hoping that we could do before we go on to taste the Pineau de Charente is perhaps just for Christophe to say a bit about Jean Fillioux. And we're in a blending house here. We've got some cognacs finishing in very old barrels, up to 200 years old, the barrels, not the cognac. The cognac is, what, up to 60, 70 years old, some of it?
The oldest cognac we have, yes, over 70 years. There is no 60, 70 years. There is no interest to keep them in cask. So they are in Damjan. Yeah. But especially in Grand Champagne, there is 6 areas of production in cognac. And Grand Champagne is the best place to make very old cognac.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, as I understand, it's the soil of the Grand Champagne.
Yes.
That produces a particular style of Uni Blanc. Do you want to just talk a bit about that?
We are in the heart of cognac, and especially here in Juillac-le-Coq, we are in the Golden Triangle. That's 3 villages. It's the best of the best. So I was lucky to have my family bought the estate here. It was in 1894.
Okay.
So we all live at the same place since. The family has the same address since this date. Yes. From son to father to son. Yes.
So you've lived here all your life, and all you've known is cognac.
Oui.
That's a pretty idyllic lifestyle, I would have thought. I'd love to take you to the main homestead and for you to see the property. It's just absolutely glorious here. But can we just have a little bit of a spin around the room, and you tell us a bit about what we're looking at? Is that okay?
Oui.
So I'm just going to lift up the laptop, and the first thing is these very old barrels. So you can see those barrels behind me there. Christophe, do you want to tell us?
This cask, 3 casks around here at the beginning of the history of the family. So at the early beginning, it was phylloxera, the sickness. So not a lot of cognac, new cognac, but they were already old when they arrived here. So these are supposed to be 150, maybe 200 years old. And we still use them. They are still full with the range.
I can see, for example, this one here, you've got Cep on it.
Cep d'Or, it's 12, 15 years old. Here we have Napoleon, it's younger, about 8 years old. And Lecoq is like, Lecoq means the animal, roaster, you understand roaster?
Yes.
And it's the name of the village, Juillac-le-Coq.
Yeah.
That's why we have these little nice animals on every label, every boxes of Jean Fillioux. That's our sign.
And so in the cognac traditions, I understand that when you're bringing a cognac ready to bottle, you bring all the flavors together and you let them rest for a long period of time. Is that right?
Once we do the blending, we do a first filtration, and then it stays in cask several months
Mhm.
before bottling.
Yes.
They always need that to, it don't change, but it's more mellow and always better when we wait before
Yeah.
bottling. Yes.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And if we can then come over here, we've got some very, very old individual barrels. If people can see that. Do you want to just tell us a bit about, so these are single, have these been maturing in these casks for decades?
Here we have two categories of cognac. Cognac will be ready for bottle, or cognac I will use to do blending. So here that's why you don't have any more new cask or tannin. Everything with here is good for me. So I don't want to change the taste to add wood.
Yep.
We have 4 aging cellars for that with different cooper, different toasting, humid cellar, dry cellar, and we play in blending aging cellar, and we blend here.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
only old cask here.
And you've got over here a very interesting array of bottles. It looks to me like you're coming up with your blends. Is that right?
Yes, and different different dates, just for fun. Even for my grandfather's, I think this didn't move since many years. It's here. We taste that sometime or not. Maybe some. We don't open some bottle maybe during 5 or 10 years, and one day we try it. Yes.
So that's from 1906. That one.
That will be the oldest one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of the best vintage we have sold. If you see that on the market, this is the best thing we have sold from ever.
What would that retail for?
This is the date of birth of my father. So it's tradition always to keep more vintage when you have a new baby who arrives.
Yeah.
So this is my father. We have done another vintage 53 from my mother.
Yeah.
I'm not lucky because I'm from 1880. It was a horrible year because it frost just before the harvest. So my wife with 1891, it's easy to have a big volume. But for me, my year it's not a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
what year is that bottle?
Say that again.
What year is that vintage?
That was 1948.
48. Very cool.
Yeah. I'm wondering, do you have any idea how much that would retail for? The price?
No idea.
No.
No idea.
It would be many thousands of euro.
No. We are reasonable. We are famous to. We are known to have good quality for price. Yes.
Yeah.
We want to share what we like. Okay.
Yeah.
So it must be acceptable for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, let's sit back down, and it might be time to get into some Pineau de Charente, perhaps. And of course, Christophe makes Pineau de Charente. So why don't we, Em, do you want to just take back over and we just introduce the Pineau de Charente, and then and perhaps Christophe could tell us about how Pineau de Charente is actually made.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think obviously you might have noticed that, the slightly, I don't know, like barely straw colored glass that you have, but Pineau de Charente, obviously not a super common wine style found in Australia, and obviously I will leave it to Christophe to tell you how it's made, what goes into it, because it's a kind of a semi-fortified style, similar to Sauternes.
So it's a mutage. We sell it in, I don't know the name in English. Muté, we mix, during the harvest, we mix juice, fresh juice, with cognac. 1/3, 2/3, about. But after there is different way to do. Some just start the fermentation before to add cognac to stop the fermentation. For red Pinot, of course, we need a little maceration to catch the color, but the process is quite basic to understand. And after each company have little way to do, and the aging is also, of course, very important also. Yeah.
And so you said 2/3, 1/3. Was that 2/3 juice, 1/3 cognac, or 2/3 cognac?
2/3 juice.
Yeah.
Because cognac is 70, and you have to go at I think it's between 16 to
Yep.
19, something like that.
Yeah.
So 1/3 of cognac and
Oh, I see.
2/3 of juice.
And
Yeah.
and is the cognac, is it just the eau de vie before it's been barrel aged, or is it older cognac?
It's supposed to be cognac from the year before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Very good.
Mm-mm.
So
Is it-
we've dropped the ABV significantly from 50% down to this one, 17.5. Yeah.
Can you speak about this brand?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it turns out that this producer is a friend of Christophe's. This is Francois Voyer. Do you want to tell us a bit about their?
Yes, it's very good people. We have a lot of common points. We also work. It's a real competitor, but a good one. We are quite close. All little companies, especially in Grand Champagne, we have to be friends if we want to work well. And I'm very good friend with Pierre Vaudin. We have the same passion for the product first, and also same way to work in couple. I'm more work in the cellar, and him too, and our two wife are a very high level of technical knowledge in vineyard. So each time we see we blah 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 blah, we have a lot to say
Yeah.
each time we meet.
Yeah.
And yes, it's also the most important thing is they love what they do, and like us, so that's why it's very good friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. So what do you think of this one as a sample of? I guess you can't say anything bad about your friends.
Anyway,
Pineau.
anyway, if it's my friend or not, we don't have habits to say bad thing about other people. Yeah.
I'm in love with Pinot de Chiron. I think it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a French fortified wine essentially. So it's not directly comparable to a sherry or a port, but it's in the same family group, I suppose.
Yeah, there is more comparison to do with sport
Yes.
in the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and so there's the red one as well. Do you make a red as well as a white?
Yes, we do some red. We mainly are famous for the white one, but we also do some red. Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Red, I
have
love
to
it with
bring a bottle back, Rod.
watermelon.
Sorry?
Might have to bring a bottle back to Australia, Rod.
Yeah.
For me, the red is wonderful with watermelon. You have that
Yeah.
in your country?
Yeah.
Yes. When you start the watermelon, you do a hole. You fill, not all, but you fill with Pineau. You eat your watermelon, and at the end you have the mix of the two juice, and this is just fantastic. It's a wonderful combination. Yes.
Yeah, wow.
And also it works well. White wine for aperitif. I prefer the white Pinot. Yes.
Yeah.
But with watermelon, rosé.
Yeah.
No way.
Wow. And apart from having it with your watermelon, would you generally, you said what Pinot de Chiron Blanc is aperitif, so you would have that. Would you have that with some nibbles, like some nuts and chips and things?
Yes, like you can drink beer or white wine.
Okay.
It's quite common here to have Pinot de Charente. Yes. On the familial lunch Sunday. That's the perfect moment. Yes.
Fantastic.
I love to drink it. It's not so. It's always sticky I prefer to drink it than to make it, because it's stick. Everything yes, it's always sticking, and you always have to rinse while you have to do for wine. You know how is it for whiskey? You don't have to rinse your filtration. You don't have to rinse anything, and it's even better when you have whiskey at 40% in your hose than water.
It's self-cleaning.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So with Pinot, it's horrible. You have to rinse everything. You have to wash everything all the time.
Yeah.
But yes, when you drink it, you understand why you do that.
Why it's worth the effort.
Yes.
Well, it'd be interesting to hear what people think about the flavors that they're picking up. Should I pass back to go through that?
Yeah. Mitch was saying it would be excellent with a charcuterie board. 100%. This would be amazing with cheese. Ian says it's sweet and refreshing, very nice. Another Ian says it would go nice with seafood. And the nose on the Pineau whiskey matches. It like you can smell between the two of them. But yeah, that's amazing. I will say that watermelon trick was usually used with a lot stronger spirits in university. That's what I'm more familiar with, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat. But it's nice to know that the French can justify soaking watermelon in in booze. It's fancy now. But
Sounds like a trick if you're going to the football or something.
yeah,
A little bit of
just
grog.
take a
in the
watermelon to the
watermelon.
cricket. You're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paul's getting Granny Smith apples on it. This is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's the kind of thing that you would drink in place of a white wine if you wanted something that's a little bit richer, sweeter, and more coating on the tongue. Because I find oftentimes, like if I'm having a wine and food, the food can overpower the wine, but something like this still cuts right through. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and Ollie is very kindly popped in the chat that this Francois Voyer Pineau de Charente Blanche sells for approximately $50 a bottle in Australia. So it's not, breaking the bank. And you do just have to, I think, look a little bit harder. A lot of French spirits importers have online websites and stuff like that, but they are worth hunting down. There's so many incredible French spirits, liqueurs, wines, fortified wines, all that sort of stuff that are totally overlooked and some of the most delicious things ever. So but we might sample this alongside the whiskey.
Yes.
The whiskey
Yes,
of the
absolutely.
hour.
So if I can just a little plug for this one. So this is our Pinot 350, the third of our tasting items, and this one we're officially launching today with Christophe. So this is Christophe's bottle that I've given him a bit earlier, and its pedigree is that it started off in a Heaven Hill barrel for 43 months, and then we moved it into a Pineau de Charente Blanc cask as a finish for 7 months. And you might ask, why would we do that? It is a new thing in Australia. I don't think I've come across anyone else with a Pineau de Charente. There are a few finish. There are a few other distilleries around the world that have tried this as well. But we have a problem at the moment in Australia in sourcing Apera casks. And so what we wanted to do was to try some fortified casks from other traditions. And we are very much enamored with the French cognac maturation tradition. And so we thought, why not start with a fortified cask from the cognac tradition? So that's the Pinot 350. The 350 refers to the number of the barrel in our warehouse. It's just barrel 350. And it's an ex-Pinot de Charente Blanc finish. And it's bottled at 54%. So,
You want to show XO?
yes, let's show XO. So we have a friend who's joined us.
This is XO.
We are fully animal loving whiskey channel here.
Yeah. So XO, so the French pronounce XO as in XO cognac, XO. So this is XO, and he's been cuddling us really since we arrived, the last hour or so. But getting back to the Pinot 350, very interesting, to compare the aroma and the taste of this whiskey against the Pinot de Charente that we just tried. And very interested to see the extent to which you can pick up some of the same flavour notes in the whiskey. Ixo's got his head in my crotch as we speak. Very friendly dog.
He wants some whiskey as well, apparently.
So this is a very, very different, but in some respects, it's like a cousin to the style of whiskey that you would find, which has started off in a bourbon. It's very common. Bourbon is a wonderful starting place for a whiskey, and then to move it to a fortified cask as a finish. So the bourbon provides a lovely depth, richness, the honey vanilla notes that you'd expect from a bourbon cask, and then this beautiful overlay from the fortified wine cask, whether it's port, or sherry, or in this case, Pinot de Charente.
Yeah, amazing. Michael says that the subtle notes compared to the Blanc on the nose, you can definitely get it, but I feel like a lot of that kind of malic acid white wine kind of tone comes through the whiskey much more than it would in the Pinot de Charente. But Howard also says that your crotch apparently has some interesting notes if the dog is particularly interested. He's a sommelier, okay?
I really like that. What do you think, man?
Same like the first one. When I see the strength, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
54, and it's very easy to drink in the same time. That's impressive. Yeah.
It's dangereux.
I like cognac. All cognac are also for me better 46, 48%. But over 50, I use not to prefer cognac over 50. And yes, I'm impressed by that at 54. Yeah.
So this is a single cask release, obviously. So there's only 202 bottles of this in the world. Well, it's officially launched today. We did have it for sale at the Melbourne Whisky Show yesterday. And a few people have had some sneaky bottles who visited us at the distillery in recent weeks. But there's not many of these bottles available. So if you'd like to place an order, you'll need to be fairly quick. I imagine this will be sold out within a few weeks of today.
It was the most popular product from yesterday's show, Rod, according to the data on your stand, Phil and Tish.
Yep. Fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, people in the chat as well. Howard says every time he retastes it, he finds another level of beauty. Paul gets coconut on the nose. I get that, kind of like a coconut rough or whatever those bounty bars are almost as well. And then Ian gets white chocolate. Michael says it's not sweet either. Like it's not as sweet. Still picking up on the ex-bourbon notes from the initial maturation. Yeah, it's really well rounded and well balanced. And with what Christophe was saying as well about the ABV, obviously when we get into the Prévu Cognac later on, you know, you'll see that obviously there's a distinct ABV difference, and most cognacs and armagnacs are bottled in that 40% range. I once had a single cask armagnac that was 64% ABV, and it was beautiful. But so it performs well at all ABVs, but it's not typical for the style, I think. But yeah, it's really great to see how the Pineau softens and rounds out and balances so well with the ABV. Ollie gets milkshake mouthfeel with juicy fruitiness. This is going to sound psychotic, but in Melbourne we have lime milkshakes. So you get lime syrup, we put it in a milkshake, and it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, that like sweet, like grapey, citrus, limey fruitiness with a cream. Yeah. Fantastic.
I wondered if, Christophe, the barrels that are used to age Pinot de Charente, are they barrels that have previously been used to age cognac in, or are they virgin French oak, or what barrels would you use for Pinot de Charente?
We can use cask. Yes, we contain. Because we can't add new oak when we do that. So it must be old cask already. So we start with cognac, and when one day when we need it, we put Pinot de Charente inside.
Okay.
Pinot is not done to add tannin with hard toasting and all that. No, it will not works.
Okay, so we would be picking up in the Pinot de Charente cask, there would be a heritage of cognac flavour infused into the staves, and then the final fill of the Pinot de Charente before we put our whiskey. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. Should we move on, or did you want to? Was anyone else who wanted to make some comments about the Pinot de Charente finish?
Might be all good. Ollie brought up a great point as well, and we can talk about it as we get into this next one, the Noble Lane, that you mentioned that you use a style of cognac maturation for your whiskey. Can you elaborate on it? What it is, tell us about it, and why you chose to use this style of maturation at the distillery.
Yeah, so the biggest, or one of the biggest challenges in Australia with the maturation of spirit is climate, and in particular, significant changes in the diurnal temperature in a warehouse. So every time a spirit increases in temperature by 10%, by 10 degrees, it expands by 1%. So it's expanding and contracting every day in the warehouse, and therefore interacting with the staves of the barrel far more rapidly than you would find in a place like Scotland. So the holy grail for long-term maturation of whiskey in Australia is to find techniques that will slow down that process and manage that process. And so I've spent some time in Cognac, learning from people like Christophe and some other producers. I also spent some time in Spain, learning the sherry tradition, because obviously they have a very hot climate and have very significant extremes of temperature, and they can age their sherry for decades. So it was a case of working out a system of maturation that managed our climatic challenges. And it turns out that Cognac in Western France is very similar in its climate to where we are in the Yarra Valley. It's the most directly applicable tradition. So through engaging with cognac producers like Christophe, we've been able to understand a better way to age our spirit. So there are a few different techniques. I won't go through all of them because it would really take out the rest of this broadcast to do that. But an example is we want to eliminate as much as possible oxygen from the barrel. The more oxygen there is in that barrel, the more there will be rapid engagement with the oak of the barrel. We want to slow that down. So, and this is a particular issue in Australia because with a high loss of liquid through angel share, over the course of 4 or 5 years, you can imagine if you're losing 8 or 10% of the contents of the barrel every year, after 4 or 5 years, the barrel is potentially half empty. So that's not good for long-term maturation. So in the cognac tradition, there would be regular movement of liquid through barrels. And as you move the liquid, you're able to top up the barrels. You can top up the barrels also by adding water. So part of the maturation process, and Christophe might want to talk a bit more about this, but generally cognac, as Christophe was saying, is not, people don't enjoy drinking that above 50%. Indeed, most cognac is released at 40% ABV. And so they would be adding water to the cask as it matures to bring that ABV down slowly. It helps to top up the cask at the same time, and it draws different characters from the barrel over the maturation period. But the other thing is vatting and refilling. So let's imagine you have 10 barrels and they're all lost 10% to angel share. You empty them all into a large vat, and then you refill 9 barrels to the brim, and the 10th barrel is no longer needed. That's a way of both integrating the flavors of 10 different barrels and also eliminating oxygen from the barrel. And that will slow the process down and improve the integration of flavors in the barrel. So these are some of the things that we've learned from the cognac tradition. And I should link that then to the Noble Lane. So Noble Lane is an expression where we have moved it through a few different casks, and in the process of moving through casks, it gives us the chance to vat, refill to a higher level, so it slows the process down, but it also introduces character from different barrels. So for example, this has influence from Heaven Hill barrels, so a bourbon cask style. It's been moved into virgin French oak, and it's been moved into botrytis. And so these 3 different styles of casks, they're not, the traditional way in Australia would have been to simply have a barrel of virgin French oak, a barrel of Heaven Hill bourbon cask, and a barrel of botrytis, and then vat them together and bottle them. And that's not what we're doing. We're moving it from one to the second, and then after a period of time from there to the third, and then bottle. And also adding water as it matures. So this is bottled at 57%, even though it was barrel filled at 62.5. So we've added water as part of its maturation process in the cognac way.
Yeah. Ian's brought up a great question, which I'm not sure if you know about, Rod, or maybe I can help answer it, but has anyone ever tried storing a cask within another larger vessel with a medium, say like water as a jacket in the outer cask, so it's partially submerged, so you're not losing that evaporation and whatnot? I know that experimentation has been done, like on a stainless steel vessel and stuff like that. But I recall the results were that it actually ruined the spirit inside. And especially with like a wooden cask, that's not going to survive in water, or it would have to be alcohol and alcohol. And then it would just soak through the wood all the way and just dissolve it and eat it, I think. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Rod.
Well, as Howard has rightly said, that the whiskey has to breathe. So you want some interaction with air. So I wouldn't be trying to do that. So the preferable style is to use bigger barrels. So if you think about the volume of liquid in a bigger barrel, liquid takes time. The larger the body of liquid, the longer it takes to heat up and the longer it takes to cool down. So if you go swimming at the ocean at the start of summer, even though it's hot outside, the water is cold. By the end of summer and into autumn, it's getting cooler, but the water is still warm. So it takes time for that thermal change to occur. So if we're using bigger barrels, which is the tradition at Amber Lane, 300, say we've got 300 litre virgin French oak casks, 225 litre sherry casks, it takes longer for that barrel to heat up. So if you have a hot day, it's not going to be particularly significant because the barrel's not going to heat up in a day. So if it's a larger barrel, whereas I feel a bit concerned for those distillers who use little barrels like 20, 30, 50 litre, 100 litre casks, because they're much more vulnerable to temperature change because of the smaller body of liquid.
Yeah, I think colloquially at Whisky Now we used to call them bangers, 20-litre banger casks, because you bang it in, it cooks itself, and then you bang it out less than, barely 2 years later on the dot when it's whiskey, and just to get it out, because you can't sustainably keep the liquid in there any longer because it's just too volatile a maturation process.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Christophe, do you want to talk about the size of barrels you use?
We don't have classic size like it can be in Bordeaux 225 or Burgundy 228. Casks are now mainly 40, 100 liter or 350 liter. But in big cellar, we could have 4 to 6 stair of cask. So it can be at the bottom 500 liters, then 450, 400, and more we go up, more it's little. 50 years ago, common size were 270 to 350. So after it become biggest cask, and now we come back 50 years after, we come back to more little cask. Yeah.
But obviously, using the bigger barrels, part of the thinking there is it's slower than if you're using smaller barrels.
It's always a question of proportion between liquid and wood. So it depends what we want to do, how fast we want this kind of thing to be done.
Yeah.
For example, I've tried in one cellar to put cask, Bordeaux size cask. We have a real 225 liter. And I put it very high, and in fact it was too hot, and so it took a lot of tannin. So it was a cognac I was supposed to sell before 10 years old, and because I forgot it at a hot place too much time, I think it would be very good, but in 20 years,
yes,
not that. Yeah, if you don't try, you don't know. So yes,
and that's one of the things that we've learnt from the cognac tradition is that. You can have too much tannin, too much oak initially. It's just a matter of managing that and putting it away, perhaps moving it to a different cask, an older seasoned cask, and letting it rest for a number of years, and it will come good.
That's the difference between cognac, spirit, and wine. If you are wrong when you make wine, it's finished. It's difficult to find another way. With cognac, okay, we have done something we don't want. Okay, we just have to wait, and it will be good later.
Yeah.
So we never lost anything.
Yeah.
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 You just have to change of plan.
That's a good segue with this Noble Lane, because we've introduced virgin French oak to this, but we would never just release it to market straight after spending time in virgin French oak, because it would be a little bit too tannic. And so that's why the order of this one, ideally it would have been virgin French oak, then bourbon, then botrytis. But we got our French oak casks after my visit to Bordeaux a couple of years ago. So this one has started in Heaven Hill, then virgin French oak, and then it spent time in an older seasoned cask that held botrytis Semillon. So it's had some French oak infusion in like a tannic virgin version, but then it's had time to settle, to mellow out, and we're very happy with the result. So this one, Noble Lane, at the Royal Australian Spirit Awards last year, was rated the best cask strength whiskey in Australia for 2023. It also won a gold medal at the World Whisky Awards in 2023. It really appeals to those people who are wine drinkers, who really appreciate French oak.
Yeah. Actually, on that as well, Michael was wondering what the maturation period for each barrel type was in the Noble Lane, like an approximate kind of how long it's spent in each cask.
So I'm speaking off the top of my head from memory here, but I think it would have been probably about 3.5 to 4 years in bourbon cask, then probably 3 or 4 months in the virgin French oak, and then possibly up to a year in the botrytis, maybe 9 months in the botrytis. But I'm talking from, I haven't actually looked at that for a little while, but roughly in those terms. So the virgin French oak, a very, very short period indeed. If we were starting in the French oak, which is the ideal way for this product in the future, it might spend up to a year in the virgin French oak, because it will have plenty of time to mellow after that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, he also says it's so creamy and certainly doesn't drink at the 57%. But as we move on to the next whiskey, the Sleigh Bells, I actually have a question for Christophe, perhaps. I'm sorry, all of my questions are for you today. So I heard that in Cognac and Armagnac, you use a lot of Gascony oak, so like the English black Gascony or English Gascony oak in the barrels that you use. Is that true, or is it a mix of like French oak, Hungarian, others?
The main forest is Limousin. Limousin is a center of France for Cognac. It's mainly big grain. And the other forest, Tronchet, Allier, it's more little grain. So in Gascony, it's more for Armagnac. But the biggest forest of oak is, anyway, it's Limousin, in Limousin. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I know that like when we talk about whiskey, we're like, oh, this is European oak. And it's like, where in Europe? There's a lot of countries in Europe. Is it, and then there's French oak and American oak and,
And East country, Carpat forest from Carpat. You understand Carpat?
No.
in
East
Hungary.
country, like Poland,
Right, yes.
South Poland, Czechoslovakia. There is old forest with very old, good oak also. 10 years ago, it was not. 12 years ago, it was not possible in Cognac to use foreign oak. Now it's possible. Yes, like American oak. Yes, some people immediately buy some as soon it was allowed, because the price is cheaper. American oak.
Yeah.
There is less work on drying. It's cheaper, and good results also.
I went to Courvoisier a couple of days ago, and they said that they were using some American oak. And I was like, oh, I thought you could only use French oak. But as you say, the rules have changed.
Yes.
Yeah. Terrific. Shall we talk about Sleigh Bells now, Em?
I think we shall indeed.
Yes, very good. So a bit of a background to this one. This is a sherry monster, and it really speaks to the quality of the sherry casks that Amber Lane is using. So we spent some time in Spain sourcing the very best casks. These come from Fernando de Castilla. The barrels are up to 60 years of age. Pedro Ximenez and Oloroso casks, and also some Apera casks from McWilliams in Australia. So 3 different types of sherry cask. And this one, the release involved 6 barrels worth of liquid, but we moved it through, following that cognac idea, we moved it through a total of 42 different casks. And so you can imagine vatting 6 barrels, then moving them to something else, vatting into something else. So the complexity, the layers of flavour in this are incredible, and it explains why this has done so well. So we entered this into a number of different awards around the world, and it's always winning gold medals. It's a delicious release that we do every Christmas, and hence the name Sleigh Bells. 58%, Christophe. There's a lot going on there. This is an armchair whiskey. This is one to enjoy at the end of the night, possibly if you're a cigar smoker. Are you a cigar smoker, Christophe?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Every cognac producer I've met has been a cigar smoker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems to be a thing.
Yes, it used to have been a fashion 25 years ago to different company. We have done it also.
Yeah.
I've done a special blend to go with a cigar. We call it Cigar Club. Yes, I have it here.
Yes, you grab it for us. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I'd be interested to find out how you put together.
Hop là. Yeah, Cigar Club.
Yeah.
It's a 25 years old creation. It used to be a fashion, just a fashion.
Yeah.
But we still sell it well, so we continue to do it.
Anyway, we got a bit distracted, didn't we, from talking about the slaves?
To talking about cigars. I honestly think that, like, particularly in terms of, I think cigar smokers are very aware. Cigar smokers who like whiskey and like cognac, like they're very aware of the similarities and the flavor profile. I don't smoke, but weirdly, I love the smell of a cigar. A high quality cigar. I used to know a lawyer, and she would toddle in, this 2'0" lawyer. She'd toddle in, and she would smoke about 2 Romeo and Juliet cigars in a night. These are like $200 a pop cigars, and she was the coolest person on earth. And I was like, I just want to sit there and smell it, because that tobacco aroma that we're so familiar with in whiskey sometimes, you know, when you think of that tobacco aroma, a lot of particularly old school whiskey tasters are thinking of cigar tobacco rather than, you know, your regular durries from the from the servo. But yeah, no, this whiskey is and I think, you know, you were saying as well, a sherry bomb, but not a crazy sherry bomb. Like it's designed to be really approachable still as well.
Yeah, and you know, it decides what strength it wants to be, and this one was 58%. So it certainly packs a punch straight from the cask. Just lots and lots of layers of flavour. So it's one to sit with over a good half hour and let it unfold in the glass and really enjoy its depth.
Yeah, 100%.
I've got to be honest with you, I've snuck ahead. I've already poured.
You're already on the cognac.
Yeah.
Could you tell I was wanting to move through to get to it myself as well?
Oh.
No, I'm not going to rush anything too much, but yeah. Ian says this is salted caramel, warm melted toffee, just beautiful. Ollie gets Christmas and July vibes, especially with the colder weather. It's very much the frozen Jack Nicholson like image right now in Melbourne. It is so cold. But perfect whiskey drinking weather, perfect cognac drinking weather. So
yeah.
Rod, I wanted to ask, are you planning on doing maybe a 10 or a 20-year-old Amber Lane down the track?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have kept back some of our original stock and just nurturing it carefully. And that has been part of the motivation for trying to find ways to extend maturation to preserve some of our original spirit. So we're now up to about 6 years of age, and the whiskey's getting better and better as it matures. So we think that there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get to 20 years for sure.
I can't wait for the Amber Lane EXO label to come out eventually.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Well, shall we move on to the cognac? And we're sitting here with the master himself. Christophe, do you want to lead us through a tasting of your
Oui.
Fillioux?
So this product, we call it Très Vieux. Like you see, it's about 25, 30 years. And when we say 25, 30, it's the real age. It's a particularity of our company. We don't have the habit to mix too much different years when we do a blend. Because we are, before to be good in as master seller, we need to have a good seller. And we play a lot with the different toasting. Like I said at the beginning, we are looking for complexity. Yeah, this is the best thing to start. We are looking for complexity, and we don't need complexity in mix 10, 20 years of difference. We can have it with just 1, 2, 3 years because we change everything because we know very well the aging process. We play with 3 kind of cask: old cask, recent cask, new cask. After there is a lot of category of new cask, the size of the grain, little grain, medium grain, big grain. Also the toasting, there is a lot of way to toast one cask. We can play with how many time the cask stay on the fire, and we also can play with the intensity of the fire. We also can play with humid cellar, dry cellar, half-half. And thanks to that, because everybody in Cognac, all of us have the same grape variety, Uni Blanc. There is 3 ways to distill, but they are not too different. The pot still is the same for everybody. It's not like for whiskey, you have big size, little size, different shape. So how to do something different when everybody have nearly the same base? We believe a lot in the aging process. So we can do something very complex with the same year. It's possible just because we change the way of aging. My decision is to put the good cognac in the good cask during the right period. So it looks easy like that, but every year, every month, we have to think where must we put this cognac? Must we leave it here, put in another cask, or change of cellar? And yes, this is decision we have to take. And we don't have any employees for this part. In the production, I work with my father, still tastes a lot. He's 75 years old, but he still tastes a lot. And also my wife is very good in tasting. When you do a blend, it's very difficult to take a decision when you are alone. When you are two, at least if I taste good or not, because you know what is it? Your mouth is moving. Sometimes you taste something you love and you don't like it, and sometimes something was not perfect. You found it wonderful. That's very dangerous when it's happened.
I have to say that some days when I'm tasting samples, everything tastes bad, and other days everything tastes fantastic. But it's the days when there's a lot of difference that's when you're tasting at your best. You find,
Wait,
yeah.
but both situations are dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this one, to come back to this, it's between 2 to 4 years in new cask. So after 4 years, it's full of tannin. Not very good to drink like that, but full of hope for the future. So yes, it's full of tannin, quite aggressive. And after 20 years, 25 years in old cask, all the aggressivity become complexity. And as you explained at the beginning, the alcohol go down slowly year after years. So yeah,
Mm.
this cognac you can say yes, about 3 years in new cask and after old cask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think one thing that would be helpful for people to hear is that most of the cognac that you would be exposed to in Australia is either VS or VSOP. So VS is only 2 years of age, VSOP minimum 4
4
years
years
of
minimum,
age.
yeah. Mm.
And then the XO is 10 minimum. And so that's probably as far as most of us experience cognac. And a lot of people will say to me about cognac, oh, it just doesn't have as much richness as whiskey. But I think the reality is that when we get to something of this sort of age, this has every bit as much complexity and richness as any whiskey that I've tried. This is delicious, Christophe.
Merci.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the main product of the company. For my grandfather, it was what we call Cep d'Or. It's 15 years old. But this one for my father becomes the main sales. And we have about 12, 15 different bottles. And I think if we have to keep one, it's this one. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
We also sell it with another name. I'm very proud about this.
It's a beautiful bottle.
Yeah, this decanter, I don't know if you see it. It's Moulin Rouge. We are the only cognac to sell with the license Moulin Rouge, because we have even if we live in the middle of the countryside and they live in Paris, we have the same history. We begin the history 1894 and Moulin Rouge begin 1897. And like me, it's the fifth generation of the same family who still earn the company Moulin Rouge. So we have their license since more than 30 years. And we just start new packaging since 6 months.
Yeah.
So very proud about this.
Yeah.
This play together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I learned the other day that a moulin is a windmill.
Oui.
Yeah.
Oui, oui.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, I believe that's why they have a red windmill on the top of the bar. But yeah, no, absolutely incredible. Ian's getting mint and chocolate. Like, I definitely get that after 8 hint. Very smooth and rich. Says Paul, apricot jam on the nose. Ian wonders if the Moulin Rouge bottle comes with dancing girls. But
you have to supply your own, Ian.
Exactly. But yeah, there's so much like lychee on this. I'm getting like when you bite into a really fresh lychee. But it's absolutely incredible. And I think there's so much more to learn about cognac and armagnac, like, you know, similar to whiskey and then even beyond. Like Christophe was saying, they use Uni Blanc grapes, but then you have I believe Petit Champagne, Grand Champagne. You've got
Borderie, very good. For young cognac, Borderie, very good.
Yeah.
Grand Champagne, the aging is very slow. So, yes, if you want to buy a young cognac, I would advise good Borderie. And for cognac, for XO, there is no way. It's Grand Champagne. But for young cognac, you have good price and often a better price with the Borderie, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are six regions within cognac, and they are defined by different soil types. And so the way that the grapes grow and the character of the grapes varies according to the soil type. So the Grand Champagne, which is where
chalk, very, you know the name champagne, like bubbles wine. Nobody stole the name of the other. It's just the name of the soil. We call it a soil of champagne. It's a white chalky soil. Where I have the same soil here than in Blanc de Blanc, close to Épernay. Exactly the same soils.
Yeah. And so, as Christophe was saying, the cognac in those 6 regions will age in different ways, and so the Grand Champagne, which is the style which is the region that Cognac Jean Fillioux is based in, is the Grand Champagne. So it's really, you know, the most revered style, but you don't drink it young, you drink it older, right?
Oui.
Yeah. So do you have a VS or a VSOP?
Yes, we have that. Like Pineau des Charentes, when you are in Grand Champagne, you have no reason to do that in terms of money. We do that because we like it, and we need a global range also. But of course, I don't wake up. The goal of my job is not to do VS. Okay. For me, under 15 years old, even if cognac main bottle was sold are VS or VSOP, like you said, but we don't have reason to compete with the big company on this market. They have their place, and we also can find a place, even if we are very little. Like François Boyer, we can find a good place when we are specialized with old and very old cognac.
So I'm sure people want to know whether they can get your cognac in Australia, and I understand that you have a distributor in Australia.
Yes, we are sold since 15 years by Cerbaco. Cerbaco is owned by French people, Gabriel Chaise. So yes, I think we have a full distribution in your country by thanks to Cerbaco company.
So you can certainly get your hands on that at most good spirit stores. I've seen it around Australia. It's not at the sort of the big sort of supermarket style spirit stores.
Ollie's got the leftover of the bottle apparently.
I used to drink this before I knew of Amber Lane, so I'm a big fan of this cognac. But I was going to say, if anyone is looking for it, whilst we predominantly do whiskey at the Whiskey List, email me or Chris, Oliver or Chris at thewhiskeylist.com.au, and I can get this bottle in for you guys as well at a slightly better rate than everyone else. Just because I love you all, and this is such a great product, so happy to spread the love.
Merci. If you also if you want a short video, it's 6 minutes. You go on YouTube, you do Cognac Jean Fillioux on YouTube, and you have a little film of all the house, all cellar. That's very short and interesting film about us. Yes.
Terrific.
Amazing.
We are so grateful, Christophe, that you've joined us.
Merci.
Today.
That's quite original for me. Even if I'm 40 years old, I'm quite old school, and I don't have habits to do that. So yes.
Well,
thank you.
the other thing, I didn't know this until I arrived this morning, but Christophe explained to me that the rule of the family is that no one does any cognac work on a Sunday, and so Christophe may be in trouble with his family, I don't know, but certainly he's broken the family rule to be available today for this tasting. So thank you, a special thank you for doing this on a Sunday.
Merci. That's also because there is not only cognac in life. We also have ducks, goose, vegetable garden, fruit, trees, and all that. So Sunday is the day to do
other things.
Other things. Yes.
Terrific.
But I'm very happy to change the rules. Yes, definitely.
Thank you very much, Christophe. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks to all of you.
Absolutely appreciate it.
So we'll sign off from France and love you and leave you if that's okay.
Absolutely. We will say goodbye to Rod and Christophe. Thank you again so much for your time. And for everyone else, we will run the poll to see what the favorite of the night was. You can vote for your top 2 favorite tastings. I normally just say whiskies, but obviously there's not whiskey as well. So I'd be curious to see if some people split their vote up into the whiskey and the non-whiskey. But yeah, I'm super excited, and that was honestly so very special to have Christophe Fillioux with us. If this is your first time learning about the brand as well and hearing about the cognac that he makes, congratulations, you're now converted, and you will probably be following them for life, and you will probably find them on quite a few incredible bars around Australia as well. So might just leave the poll for 1 more minute. But yeah, if there's any, I mean, I think they pretty much filled us in in the deep discussions. Ollie, do you have anything to add?
I was very quickly, we missed it in introductions, but if Phil and Tish are the other half of Amber Lane. So whilst Rod is the pretty face talking about the marketing of the product, Phil is the head distiller. So he's the guy toiling hours and hours in the shed making the product and then looking after those barrels. So it's all based at Phil's place. And Phil, you guys do an open day at the distillery once a month usually, yeah?
Can you hear me there, Ollie?
Yep.
Yep. So once a month, best way to do it is you look on our website, and that'll give us the dates. I think we've got coming up in the
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday is an open day, and we also have an Amblers that's private for Ambler members. But yeah, and also we do group bookings, and if anyone is a serious whiskey advocate, you can always contact us. I live on site, and I'm happy to share with people who are truly there for the beauty of whiskey. So it was very interesting for me to listen to that tonight, because Rod and I have had many conversations about a lot of the things that we've spoken about there, about our aging process, and it was actually very interesting for me to taste some of those things that I haven't tasted before. And it just encourages us further that we are on the right track, and we know what's coming out in the next few years, and it's going to go to another level. The stuff that we are preparing now, that we won't release until it's ready, but when it does come out, it's going to be another level again. So we appreciate the support from all you guys.
Good whiskey takes time, right?
It does. Yep.
Amazing. Well, we might share the poll results since they're done. And actually, I mean, sacre bleu. Oh,
yeah.
Ollie's good. The cognac just pipped the Pineau, but honestly, absolutely amazing. When you've got a 25 to 30-year-old cognac, it's kind of hard
it was beautiful.
for anyone to hold up against that. But absolutely stellar lineup. I mean, the Pineau was, like Ollie said, one of the top, or was the top rated whiskey at the show yesterday. Gosh, it was only yesterday. But yeah, so an absolutely amazing lineup, and obviously Rod being in France, the team is working with. Oh, I'm frozen. There we go. I'm back. Thought I was frozen for a second. Obviously Rod being in France, the team working with so many French and Spanish companies, getting their hands on an incredible array of casks. It just makes the future so much more exciting for Amber Lane.
Yeah.
But thank you. I think that's it for the evening. We might round it off there, Ollie. And thank you so much everyone for joining, and we will catch you in the next tasting, at the next show, wherever you happen to see us. We'll look forward to it.
The whiskey list, we're sort of launching the Pineau 350 to our audience. I will get the recording up. I'll send an email to all you wonderful people, because you tried it first. You get the first chance to buy the bottle from us before we release it to the public. So look out for that email. That'll include all the details about the whiskey, and then hopefully it'll be this is a single cask, so I don't think it will last that long. Rod's single cask never lasts long anyway. So thanks for all your support, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.